Hi, welcome to Truth by the Minute. Today's subject is a very serious subject because it's about neglecting your salvation. And it's serious because most Christians don't even know that they could be neglecting their salvation. The writer of Hebrews in chapter 2 verse 3 asks this question: how shall we escape if we neglect so great a salvation? You see, most of us would agree that if you reject salvation, then you would probably not be able to escape the judgment of God. But the question here is, how will you escape if you neglect so great a salvation? Is it God's wrath that they're pertaining to? Let's take a look. I think Matthew 25 will help clear it up a bit. In Matthew 25, we find the parable of the talents. Now, a talent is not necessarily a human ability. A talent isn't like a runner has a talent to run or race. No, a talent is a measurement of gold and silver. A talent is a weight. In fact, they took King David's crown off and they weighed it, and they said it weighed a talent of gold. So, in the parable of the talents, we see this king or this lord or this master. He gives 3 different servants different amounts of riches. But they all receive riches from their master. The first one receives 5, the second one receives 2, and the third one receives 1 talent of gold or silver. The focus of the parable is not on the first 2. They get called good and faithful servants, and they're told, well done, because they took their talent of gold and silver, and they invested it, and it brought forth an increase. In fact, they brought forth 100-fold. The one that had 5, he brought forth 10, and the one that received 2, he brought forth 4. They had the same, even though one was given 5 and the other one was given 2, they each brought 100% or 100-fold increase. But the majority of the story is spent on the third servant, because you see, this third servant receives 1 talent, and it says when his master called for him, he went and he dug up his talent up out of the ground, his talent of gold, and he brings it before the Lord, and he lays it down at his Lord's feet, and he says, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man. What he was saying was, I knew this was going to be a day of judgment, and I feared you judging me, and I feared losing this talent that you gave me. This talent represents salvation. This talent was hidden in the ground, and when he brought it forth and laid it at his master's feet, the master responded in a way that probably caught him off guard, because he called him a wicked and he called him a lazy servant. He said, you wicked and you lazy servant. You see, this servant was considered wicked because he had received of the master's goods. He had received salvation, and he went and he hid it in the ground, and he was only worried about his own salvation. He said he was afraid. So he was afraid that he would lose it. So he hid it in the ground. He wasn't worried about anybody else but himself. He was only worried about his salvation. He was only worried about him standing before God and in the judgment. He never considered his brother. He never considered his neighbor. He never considered his friends. He only considered himself. And he was also considered wicked and lazy because he didn't know or understand what it cost. What it cost Jesus to purchase this salvation. Because you see, salvation is a free gift. No man can earn salvation. It's freely given to us by the price that Christ paid on Calvary. But what we fail to understand is that each person who receives salvation as a free gift will be judged according to what they did with it. You see these images? This is what it cost Jesus. It cost him everything. He suffered for us. He was beaten, and he suffered for our redemption. He suffered for our reconciliation. He suffered for our salvation. And to consider it common or to tread it underfoot, it is not going to be good on the day of judgment after receiving salvation and have neglected it. It cost him everything. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26, it starts off, "For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins."